What's up, everybody? My name is Jabber CapShotz. So this is kind of point five, as you can see, episode of conversations, mainly about Thor Love and Thunder. Mike and I ended up getting on a huge tangent when it came to the whole Marvel side, the whole Thor Love and Thunder side, but we wanted to upload it still because it was really good content. It was really good conversation we had between the Thor trailer, the Marvel stuff, everything like that. So we wanted to definitely upload it. So honestly, not going to take up too much of the time. Just want to get straight into it so you guys can enjoy it the same way that we enjoyed making it. Um, so I mean, yeah. Without further ado, here's Mike and I talking about Thor: Love and Thunder and kind of go down a little bit of a rabbit hole in Marvel Comics. Mike, whenever I approached you with the idea to do something like this, I mean, like, were you excited for it? Like, were you down to like just do this shit or what?
Oh yeah, dude, I was so down. I did something similar to this with my friend Brandon a long time ago. We kind of like did a podcast about like comics and certain comics and stuff and movie reviews. So like I've been itching to do something like this again. Um, and I agree with you about like some people like like casual, and then some people like us like we watch videos breaking down stuff so we could see the little things that they did throughout the show, and I can't get enough of it honestly.
I mean, I definitely do. Yeah, for sure. Every single time that a new show, a new episode of something comes out, I especially like to. There's a specific couple channels like there's Screen Crush, there's New Rock Stars, and then there's Emergency Awesome, who are three big kind of proprietors of like breaking down the episodes piece by piece, things in the background that we would have missed that we wouldn't have necessarily noticed. Also, kind of, it's really cool to go and watch those videos the day or two after when they come out, those episodes come out, to see how many you actually noticed beforehand, before actually getting pointed out. Oh yeah, this is this. It's kind of fun to be like, oh yeah, I knew that part. Like I knew that was one of the things that they were talking about or that they put in there. I think that's always a super fun part. So today, for the most part, of course, as you can see the title, it's going to be mainly Obi-Wan. But before we get into the meat of it, we want to talk a couple of things that have been come out recently, like the Thor: Love and Thunder trailer. So whenever that you said that trailer dropped, I was actually at work whenever that trailer dropped, so I was pissed. So I kind of watched like the first 20 or so seconds with no sound, and then I was like, okay, it's looking like this can actually be a full on trailer. It's gonna be a really good
Yes.
one. I have to wait. So once I got on break, I think is when I actually watched the full on one, and I was super excited. I mean this movie looks great. I mean I don't know.
I'm gonna be honest. Okay, so I had no idea what this movie was gonna be about. The first teaser trailer dropped, what, like a couple months ago,
Mhm.
and I'm like, let's go back to Thor Ragnarok. That movie surprised surprised the hell out of me. I did not like the one before that was Thor the
The Thor: The
Dark
Dark
World.
World, terrible movie,
Uh, I was not a
awful.
fan, and it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth for solo Thor movies. And I saw Thor Ragnarok. I kind of like I waited on it. I watched it with my buddy on our birthday, and we were dying laughing the whole time. I actually had such a good time with that movie. And going to this one, I was like, okay, like that movie is a high standard for me. So like I was like, how is this one gonna be? And the first trailer, I was just like, this is not it. Like, I don't even know what the story is about. I'm like, doesn't he see like Thor even knows what he wants to do, you know? But dude, that new trailer, all the faith is restored. It looks so damn good, dude. Like visually, the way everything like was shot, the colors, and I really fuck with Christian Bale as what was it, Gore the God
Gore the
Butcher?
God Butcher.
Dude, I know he doesn't look like comic book accurate, but he's like close enough. Dude, he looks insane. Like
I mean,
he's
he
dude.
looks terrifying, and I think
Yeah.
a big reason to that is the eyes. The lack of color on his whole body, and the contrast to the scenes that he's in, especially in the trailer at least. I don't know how the full movie looks, but it looks like for the most part he's going to be like have this huge tone of black and white around him throughout the movie. But his eyes being like that blood red, just like that bloodshot kind of orangish red in his eyes, very similar to Anakin Skywalker whenever he turns to the dark side in a way. And then those teeth with like like this the slimy like just black in his teeth. I mean he
Yes.
looks he looks like he's gonna be fucking terrifying. I mean
Yeah.
it looks scary. Like I mean when you think after, especially after Ragnarok, like you said, I was actually glad you brought that up. So Ragnarok kind of caught me off guard as well. I was very shocked with how good that movie was going to be because I knew when Taika Waititi was brought on as the director for the movie before that movie came out, there was kind of not backlash, but there was doubt. There was doubt in him, his ability to actually make a Thor movie, because Thor, after the second one, I would say he definitely had his funny moments. He had his, they kind of brought out the funny in how he sounds as like a god, and how he puts together words and stuff, and different things like that. They brought out like kind of funny parts. They made fun of it, but then Thor: Dark World was a very like serious tone for like the most part, if I remember that. Or I've watched it once. I refuse to watch it again. It's a terrible movie,
Same. I
but for
don't
the
even.
most part, from what I
Maybe twice.
remember, it definitely was more of a serious tone movie with like the dark elves and all that.
Yeah.
But then it was a total 180 with this. I mean, Thor hilarious in that movie. Korg, Meek, right? The little bug, right?
Yeah, I'm a
Um,
fan.
Loki being in the movie. Even the like the small inclusion of Jeff Goldblum as what was his name? The the the
I don't
the
know.
Grand Leader. I forget what his name is honestly in the comics. I know he has a it's a comic book character, but
Hulk
um
being in it.
yeah, the Hulk being in it too. I mean, the introducing of Valkyrie as more of like a bounty hunter esque person at first when she was like a lost breed, I guess, and then having in Hela and all that stuff, the
She
death of
was a
Anthony
cool ass villain.
Hopkins, Odin, just the whole thing was it was a really good movie. It was well put together. There was like serious parts, but there was like really fun parts with it too. Um, that
Wasn't
really
Doctor
set up
Strange in
a
that
good
too?
idea. For like a little bit, he was. Both
Yeah.
Thor and Loki end up, saying what's up to him, which I thought was really cool. That was a
That
fun,
whole
it
scene was good.
was a fun little scene with it. But no, that movie was really great. But now moving on to the trailer, we want to talk about. I think that trailer was incredible. Now, the first one, I think maybe I have a different outlook because I knew what kind of some bit of the story was going to be going in a way. Not the full way they were going to make the story, but more so the fact that they were going to have Gore the God Butcher in there. But it was a nice little teaser that we got at first. I feel like we kind of just got something small, and it made it a bigger payoff with this trailer too. This trailer was full of just what's going to happen, how is it going to happen, especially with the introduction of Mighty Thor, Jane Foster. How
Yes.
is she? How does she get her powers? How does she get called? How does Mjolnir? Because last time we saw Mjolnir, it was just in pieces on like
Yes.
that mountainside or just grassy area
Scotland, I think.
wherever.
I
I
don't
know it's a
remember.
new Asgard. I know it's a new Asgard. That's essentially
Yeah.
what they made New Asgard. But
Yeah.
w- how does she get Mjolnir? How does it get put back together? How does that whole dynamic work? Because in the comics, she had cancer. She ends up getting cancer in the comic, and then they ended up giving her like the gods ended up, or no, it was Mjolnir that ended up choosing her as worthy to wield it, and then she gets the powers, becomes Mighty Thor. Um, so I'm curious if they're gonna go that route with it, which would suck. I hate seeing stuff like that, but at the same time, it's like it kind of it makes it cool for a character to be able to do something like that. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm very curious as to how they're gonna introduce her powers. If they're gonna keep her as a version of Thor or Mighty Thor.
That'd be
I'm
cool.
I think so too, but at the same time, is it because recently we've seen a lot with Falcon and Winter Soldier. We've seen with Spider-Man too, kind of this passing of the guard to like the new Avengers in a way.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious. I don't think they would do that with Thor.
No. So Chris Hemsworth basically, as far as I know from like recent stuff he said, he loves playing Thor, and he said like I will play Thor until Marvel says go away. So I think it would be beneficial to keep him, and also I think it'd be beneficial to keep Jane Foster as Thor too, like have both. It brings up a cool dynamic that I feel like they also kind of missed. We saw a small glimpse of it in Endgame with Pepper Potts and Iron Man, like fighting side by side, which was dude. I saw that shot like on a GIF on Twitter, and I was like, oh my god, I like we needed more of that. But um, I think they should keep both. Honestly, like I don't see them getting rid of her for that. But I don't even know how. I don't know. Like, there's so many questions about this movie. Like, where do the Guardians come in? Like, where do they fit in the story?
Where do they go? Because it
Exactly.
seems like in the beginning of the trailer they're kind of there, but then more so like we get 45 or so seconds into the trailer, like kind of midway through, and they disappear. Like they just look like they're in most of the story. It's kind of like they kind of drop him off after hanging out with him for a little while, and all of a sudden, the Guardians go back to whatever they were doing. So it's very curious what they're gonna do with that. Now,
Yeah.
I
I
think
heard that. Oh no, you
with the
go.
you actually brought up a really good point with the whole Pepper Potts and Iron Man thing, because we've only seen that one other time besides that, and it's Ant-Man and the Wasp. And Ant-Man and the Wasp, we kind of see that the power couple essentially dynamic, and it's a very good one.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people weren't too high on Ant-Man and the Wasp being it wasn't a bad, wasn't a good movie. I actually like that movie a lot. I think Evangeline Lilly and Paul Rudd as Ant-Man and the Wasp they're hilarious. They're great. They have a great dynamic together, and the powers are really fun. Um,
Yes.
and then with the story with the ghost and everything like that, it made it fun. Trying to find uh, Janet Van Dyne, Janet Van Dyne again, and the whole culmination of bringing them back together. It was fun. So I definitely want to. I'm excited for Ant Man Quantumania. That's gonna be a great movie.
I think that movie's
I'm
gonna
just
be
very
out.
high on Paul Rudd being Ant Man. It literally seems like he has so much fun playing like Ant Man as well.
Yes.
But
At least I hope he does.
I mean, you think, right? I mean, they're actors, so you never know like how much they actually enjoy their roles. But like you said,
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth is one of those guys who's very open about, I want to play this character. I don't want to ever leave something like this. Which, not to say that people like Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans or anything like that who have passed away. Spoiler, I guess it's been years. I don't know what to tell you. Um, but I mean, it didn't seem like they didn't have fun or they were ever against playing those characters. But I mean, at the same time, it was like they had good settling stories. But with people like Thor and stuff like that, like what way are you gonna try? Because if you're gonna kill the original Avengers, there has to be some mighty passing of the torch, some really cool passing of the torch, and either a way that they die in a very worthy way of like sacrificing themselves like Iron Man did, or
Yeah.
kind of like descending off of Captain America when he just says, "I want to go live out a life that I didn't get to, that I missed out on."
Yeah.
Um,
It makes sense story wise too.
right. It makes sense story wise because it was something that he always you always kind of can gather if you paid attention was something that he always kind of like, I'm so out of time. I don't necessarily like being here, which they convey it in the comics very well a lot. Um,
Yes. And like if I've seen my favorite Marvel movies, probably still now, is Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
amen.
And
Amen.
and you see a lot in that movie. Like he visits what's her name again?
Peggy
Uh,
Carter.
I literally had it and then like left my mind. But he visits her like, and he throughout the movies he constantly looking at her picture. Like he wanted to be with her, and he saw the moment in Endgame. He's like, this is my chance to do this. And I think at a certain point he's been fighting forever. Literally, like, so like I think it was story wise that made so much sense. And as much as absolutely loved Chris Evans as Captain America,
I think
I
like
think it was
people said that Chris Evans was a very bland actor as Captain America, but I think
fine.
that was kind of the point, I believe. I think when you get a character like Captain America, who's literally a man at a time, who was literally supposed to be by the books, everything by the books, everything, the Star Spangled Way. I think he conveyed that very well in the movies that he was in, which is a large majority of them, but especially at the end of Endgame when he was kind of like that last ditch effort before the whole coming of everybody. Spoiler: everybody came back to life once again, I guess. He was kind of like that last ditch effort because Thor, Iron Man kind of get knocked to the ground. Captain America once again gets his ass
Yeah.
kicked, gets back up, and he's like, "Shit, man, here we go. I got to get up and do it again."
Yeah.
Um, he was full on. Actually, ironically, Jay and I actually just went back and just like watched that part of the scene because that's still one of my favorite movie moments of all time.
When he's using Mjolnir?
When that part, as well as when the shield's broken, he ties it on tight. He's
Yes.
prepared to fight on the full might of Thanos and his entire army by himself. And he's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna die, but a lot of you are going out if that's the
Yeah.
case. He was that the still of the side portrait of just Captain America on one side, the army of Thanos, and Thanos on the other it gives me chills just thinking about it, let alone looking at it. I mean, it's something that it spoke true to like Captain America's character. So like you said, it full on was like, okay, he deserves to rest. He had always been the one that was always the last person fighting. No matter what the battle was, he was the last person that was there every single time. So he definitely deserved to kind of peacefully go on that way. But moving back on to Thor, I mean, it's very easy to lose tangents. It's very easy to lose tangents. We're already 15 minutes in. I haven't even touched Obi-Wan yet. Um, but honestly, it's gonna happen a lot that way. Something like this type of series is Mike and I like to talk about this stuff, so it's gonna be very long. It's gonna be very extraneous sometimes, but at the same time, it also just shows that we do love this shit. I think comics superhero movies, superheroes in general, are a very cool way to get past like the realism of life, if that makes sense. Just getting to like think of yourself in a different light, or getting to just get away and just think other stuff for a while.
And the
Um,
stories are just cool.
that's right. It's
Like
very cool. Like, the stories, the characters, the costume designs, especially, are a big thing for
if
me.
if done well,
If
if
done
done
well,
well.
if done well, we've seen some bad ones. We've seen some really good ones. Um,
Yes.
but no, back to Thor. We'll kind of wrap up kind of quick with that. Uh, the movie looks great. I think Gore is gonna be fucking terrifying, which is gonna be great. I want more. I want because Thanos wasn't scary look wise. He wasn't scary. It was more so what he was wanting to do as his final mission. That was kind of like, oh shit, that's kind of like scary. But
Yeah.
Gore looks terrifying. His mission is to kill every single god
Yep.
that exists.
And
I mean,
I'm sort of disappointed if I have a feeling, and I want your take too, if they're gonna kill him off after this one, or like maybe he'll like survive and come back for another one. Because like you got an actor Christian Bale, like he's a solid actor. Um, I'm a fan of reusing villains, especially if they're fucking good. So I think if he's as good as okay, how do you say his name? The
Taika
director.
Waititi.
Yeah, if he's as good, he's hyping him up a lot. I mean, no, it's his movie and everything, but he might be backing up his words with that trailer. Like, I kind of want to see him again after this. I don't want to see just Gore the Godbutcher for one movie, but I have a feeling they're gonna kill him off after this.
I have a feeling that they're either gonna kill him off, or he will have some kind of like some major turnaround, that will not make him a villain by the end. But I think it's more so the first option there. They're definitely gonna kill him off. I think that's the easier thing to do, because like somebody or a character like Gore the God Butcher, who basically in the comics, his family dies because of a god or like something like that. His whole planet gets destroyed because of like this whole god thing. So he goes on a mission to kill every god, and that's why hence the name Gore the God Butcher. He finds ways to kill anything and everything that he thinks is above him or considered a god. So I mean, it's an interesting character, but at the same time, I think if they're gonna do this correctly, they need Kurt Russell, not Kurt Russell, Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe being Zeus in this movie. The
Yes.
like that whole scene of like all these different gods, all these different godlike beings that are conveyed in this whole thing where like Thor is kind of like on this trial. Um, you know, I think it's this movie's gonna be really good if they set up Gore the right way of him literally slaughtering a lot of different gods throughout the movie as it goes on.
Yeah.
I think the best way to make that, in my opinion at least, that the movie could be very cool, is throughout the movie Thor is kind of like a step behind in a way. So it's kind of like a detective type movie where they know who it is eventually. So they're trying to get to him, but he keeps getting a step behind. And he keeps seeing all these different gods that end up getting killed by him, or he keeps failing to stop Gore from killing these gods. I think that would be a really cool way to do it. Um, but I trust Taika Waititi, especially after Ragnarok, especially after you know he's very well regarded now, especially after Thor Ragnarok. He's very well regarded. He's actually gonna, speaking of Star Wars, he's gonna direct the next movie for Star Wars that's gonna come out. We have no idea what's even gonna be about, but I could trust it. It doesn't need to have lightsabers. It doesn't need to have anything that we know right now. It could be something a total 180 from what we would expect, and I would still go see it. I
100%.
love Taika Waititi as a director. He has fun doing it. Um, which I think is very, very important, to love what you do, especially when it comes to something like that that can get enjoyed by others. Something like this. I mean, we're doing it because we love it. We're doing it for fun, and hopefully we people can enjoy it and kind of listen, disagree, agree, whatever it is. Um,
Yeah.
but when it comes to it, I think realistically, this movie is going to set up a lot of things for the rest of Phase 4.
I hope so, because I thought Doctor Strange was gonna do that.
Yeah, I think that's where Doctor Strange failed a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
it failed to blatantly say this is what's happening next. This is a big thing of happening next, because at the end credit scene of Doctor Strange, we got Clea, who is the niece of Dormammu. It's interesting to find out once the movie rolled. I was like, I did not know that. That was really cool. I was very shocked by that, especially by to find out that the actress who plays Clea, I can't remember her name for the life of me.
Charlie
Charlize Theron.
Theron.
Charlize Theron. Um, or Theron, whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm very curious as to what are they supposed to do, because I feel like, yeah, exactly, Doctor Strange was supposed to be the kind of point where you figure this is probably going to be the next step for it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Everyone, after watching like a million, after one, oh, dude, we were gonna do it on a rabbit hole, but um, but after like WandaVision, there was so much like speculation about like what that show was gonna set up, and it did a decent job. I thought there was gonna be more, but like we all of us uh thought Doctor Strange was the one because it has multiverse. That seems like the perfect movie to set up certain things for the future. Even a tease it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but just a tease. And they it didn't do it at all. Like there was nothing set up besides her coming. And I'm not like super duper into Doctor Strange. I'm getting into him more, like getting more into him now. But I had no idea who she was. I was like so confused by that after credit scene because I thought it was gonna have something to do with Kang or something else for the future, and nothing to do with that.
So actually, ironically, we said Chris Hemsworth is one of those very open actors of who likes playing Thor. Benedict Cumberbatch is another one of those actors who's like, dude, I will play Doctor Strange for the rest of my life. Like, I have so much fun. I want to play him. And I love Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. He's the perfect bit of like an
Yes.
asshole who wants to be right all the time, but at the same time, he's like, all right, I should do the right thing.
Yes.
But all right, so to kind of wrap up, I think Thor is going to be great. What's your
Same.
take on that? I mean, like, what do you think can come of this movie?
Uh, I have no idea what to expect, honestly, because like story-wise, the only thing I really know, like, I don't. So there's like elements I have no idea. Guardians of the Galaxy, how do they fit into it? Where they like, I'm just interested in like where they're put in the plot and where, like, the beginning, middle, end, like where. um, how Jane gets her powers. I am very confused about that, and I'm excited to learn by watching New Rockstars, Mercy Awesome, Screen Crush. Um, Gore the God Butcher, never even heard of him until until this movie, but I'm glad they used him because he sounds like a dope ass villain. And one thing we didn't touch on with him was sword. Apparently, like what's the name of
So
his sword?
I don't remember the sword. I keep every time I think of the sword, I just think of the ebony blade with the Eternals and all that. With that character, but the sword essentially in the comics was created by a symbiote that would be strong enough to kill gods. So it's a very specific sword. It's a very
Very
meaningful
powerful
sword.
sword.
It's a very powerful one. That it wasn't in the comics for the most part from what I've seen as far as like the comic book art for Gore the God Butcher. It's more of a sword that he creates from his hand. It's not more like a physical sword. It's actually a sword that kind of like a symbiote is able to kind of create objects from its ooze, from its slime, from whatever. Um, the very similar way that Gore can create that sword, and that's how he battles villains. Which same thing for me. I had no idea who Gore was until I saw a video basically saying, "Oh, the looks like Gore the God Butcher is going to be Christian Bale, and that's going to be the main villain for this movie." And I looked it up, and I was like, "I'm so down. I'm so ready for it." Because you think about it, in American Psycho, great movie for Christian Bale. Great, he's a
I've
great
never
actor
seen
in
it.
that movie. Um, I have only seen it once, and it was a long time ago. But it's a very good movie. He plays a very cynical, but he also plays more of a smartass type. So this is gonna be more of a side where he's gonna be blatantly. I don't even know how to explain it. He's gonna be a butcher. I mean, he's literally gonna be crazy. So I'm very excited to see how they're gonna introduce him in his first scene, how they're gonna give Jane her powers, how they're gonna convey when the Guardians kind of go in and out because they're supposed to have their last movie next year, I believe. It's supposed to be
Yeah,
2023.
actually,
Um,
they recently just wrapped shooting.
yep, they did, right. It was a couple weeks ago or last month they had wrapped shooting for it. So
Yeah.
it's I'm very excited for that movie as well. But I mean, it's gonna be a good movie. Basically, it's gonna be a good movie.